You're listening to 18-Wheeler off of Buffalo Gospel's latest album, On the First Bell. Please stay tuned for our full artist interview with Ryan Necci of Buffalo Gospel coming up right after the song.
She's come a long, long way for a good old boy and a letter from the interstate. Said, I love you, little girl, and I want to make you mine, but don't you gonna make me wait. Well, she should've known better when she saw that the letters were written on a motel bill. But by the time it arrived, she was blind with the signs of love and a wedding bell. How do you send love letters to an 18-wheeler? How you fall in love with the driving man? Take a good long look before he up and leaves you, and you're sitting there waiting on the wheels again. Well, he woke in the nighttime carrying on, saying, brother, what have you done? You know your boots are burning and the truck is full, and if you hurry, you got time to run. Well, she headed down the road with the letter that he wrote, and a smile right across her face. Lord, he never even seen her doing 103, but he passed her going the other way. How do you send love letters to an 18-wheeler? How you fall in love with the driving man? Take a good long look before he up and leaves you, and you're sitting there waiting on the wheels again. Woo! Send love letters to an 18-wheeler. How you fall in love with the driving man? Take a good long look before he up and leaves you, and you're sitting there waiting on the wheels again. Now it's apron strings and cigarette smoke. She's waiting in the bed alone. Never mind playing your wife, she'd have said a phone call, but she's waiting on the telephone. Well, she got herself a job where she heard he drinks, and she's waiting for the day to come. Oh, Daddy rolls into town and he's settling down, and his rambling the days are done. How do you send love letters to an 18-wheeler? How you fall in love with the driving man? Take a good long look before he up and leaves you, and you're sitting here waiting on the wheels again. I said you're sitting here waiting on the wheels, oh, again. Yeah, yeah.
Hey everybody, this is Noah James Hittner with the Ark of Music. You can find us online at thearkofmusic.com. That's the A-R-K of music.com, where we discover and share the best music in the world you never knew existed. There you can subscribe to our free Music Discovery e-newsletter, which is how we regularly deliver new music and interviews just like this one to your inbox for free. Today, as always, we're recording in Madison, Wisconsin, and joining us on the phone from just down the road a bit in Milwaukee is the founding member and heart and soul of the country Americana outfit known as Buffalo Gospel, who are about to release their second full-length album titled On the First Bell, which is the follow-up to their brilliant 2013 release, We Can Be Horses. He is none other than singer, songwriter, guitarist Ryan Necci. How's it going, Ryan?
What's up, Noah? Thanks for having me, man, and thanks for the kind words. Appreciate it.
Well, with absolutely no pride here, I'm super excited to interview you. This is probably the most I've looked forward to an interview since we started this project. Because look, you're just going to have to sit there and take some sunshine for a few minutes, because this is the deal. I consider you, honestly, for me personally, I consider you to be maybe one of my top 5 favorite songwriters that's currently alive. I think you're super talented. I love the music. I love the emotion. I love the whole vibe that you guys got going on. And so this is cool for me, and I appreciate you hanging out.
Thanks, man. That means more than you know. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, right on. It's just the truth. And so let's start at the beginning. You've named your father and his record collection as really kind of the galvanizing influence in your musical inspiration way, way, way back. Well, not too far back. You're not too old.
No.
And so who were those artists, more importantly, and what was it about them that grabbed you so permanently?
I remember, when you're that age, like 6 or 7 years old, you don't have a lot of say as far as what's playing in the house, or at least we didn't back then.
Sure.
I do remember a lot of Emmylou Harris. a lot of John Prine, a lot of Bob Dylan. You know, he was big into he still is. I mean, he's around still, but he's big into the singer-songwriters. And, you know, Paul Simon, he's a huge Paul Simon fan, so that was playing all the time.
Right on.
I think I just, you know, I really love telling stories, and I really loved you know, those are some of the best storytellers ever. And I think I was sort of in school, and I didn't even realize it, you know, and it was just getting pumped full of all those fantastic songs, and it just sort of stuck. And he also, you know, there was a lot of Hank Williams Sr. and Townes Van Zandt. I mean, he ended up, for a wedding gift, he gave me his record collection, so I have all those now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and all my aunts and uncles, that was like their gift, was they gave me their record collection. So I have this immense old, it just stinks like pot, and but I mean, there's some fantastic stuff in there. I went from having like 100 records to having this shelf just packed full of just classic stuff. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Man, that's where I got it for sure.
So how did that inspiration first sort of actualize? I mean, was it a guitar, or did you start writing? Did you start singing first? Like, what was the first thing that started to happen?
I actually was a drummer first.
Oh, that's right. You know, I think I knew that. Yeah, you were a drummer.
Yeah, I was in percussion and growing up, and kind of got into playing the drum set just because none of my friends had one, and everybody was playing the guitar and bass at the time. And I think I just started, you know, I was in little bands in like middle school and high school and stuff, and we were playing a lot of covers at the time. And I think nobody was really trying to write original music, and everyone was just kind of, you know, they were satisfied playing Creedence and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I was pretty jazzed about that too, but I just, if nobody else was going to take the reins and start trying to write, that's kind of what I did. So,
right.
And they were awful songs. Like, I have just tons of awful songs, but yeah, that's kind of how it started, was just out of necessity to, hey, if we're going to be an original band, somebody's got to write some songs at some point.
Sure. And when you say we, are you referring to Buffalo Gospel or one of your earlier bands?
This is earlier bands, yeah.
Yeah.
These were just middle school and high school.
Sure. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So when did you push over from being a drummer to, I mean, you play rhythm guitar now, correct?
Yeah, I do my best. That's another thing, you know, I never really set out to be a guitar player. It was more of out of necessity to write. You know, I needed, I couldn't play piano, so I needed to teach myself well enough to at least bring them to a band with somewhat of a melodic idea, you know. And
sure,
I'm to the point now where I can do that, but I wouldn't consider myself like a really good guitar player, you know.
Can we talk about your playing style?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us where you got that. I think I might have an idea, but let's talk about that.
Yeah, I play an open D, and I just play basically bar chords, and I use a capo a lot, and it really, you know, it allows me enough versatility to be able to write. You know, I know a little bit of standard tuning and that kind of thing, and I've started kind of. I realized that would be a good weapon to have, so I've started kind of teaching myself that as well.
Sure.
But yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I was really young. I wanted to learn how to write something in a hurry. And my brother, who was a guitar player at the time, was like, well, there's this guy named Richie Havens. He plays this style.
Sure.
He plays with his thumb. And so we figured out what he was doing. I tuned my dad's guitar up like that, and all of a sudden, you know, I had 3 or 4 chords that I could play, and I could start writing songs. So
right. I figured Richie had something to do with that.
Yeah, he was definitely he was obviously the guy that sort of pioneered that style.
Yeah, right on. Cool.
But now it's, I've tried to move into standard tuning, and some of the guys in the band are like, you got to keep playing that way because that's the way the songs are supposed to sound.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of stuck in this. Whatever, I love writing. I love writing words, and as long as I can get the point across to the guys that are in the band that are the really great musicians,
Right.
that's enough for me at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm quite certain the crowd doesn't give a crap that you know how you play your guitar. So
It doesn't matter if they do. That's all they're going to get.
right.
So, yeah.
So
But
we
I'm
always
glad
like
to hear it. I'm glad to hear that.
I always like to find out what was your first guitar, and do you still have it? Still play it?
Oh man, my first guitar was my dad's first guitar, which I want to say it was like a Harmony or something.
Okay.
With like the F holes on it. It was a really cool looking guitar, but it sounded terrible.
Oh,
And it is in our basement. Yeah, I do still have that.
right on.
Yeah.
Is that on any of the recorded work at all?
It's on some really early demos that
Okay.
probably will never see the light of day.
Sure.
But
got a few
it
of those,
wasn't
too.
on, and yeah, it wasn't on the record.
Right on. Cool. Well, let's talk about Buffalo Gospel. So, you're based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and kind of a generic question: when and how did the group happen?
So I was coming out of college, and for a few years after, I was in a kind of like an Allman Brothers jam band sort of thing.
Okay.
And we were called Fat Ma Rooney. We were, regionally touring quite a bit and having a lot of fun. But around that time, we started, once you get out of college, life kind of picks up, and you go from being able to sleep on a floor and eat sandwiches and stuff to all of a sudden I need to get a job, or
Right.
I got a wife, or a serious girlfriend, or that kind of thing. So, so that band kind of went its separate ways. And during the end of that, I was just still writing a lot, and a lot of it didn't really fit with that sort of jam band feel.
Sure.
It was a lot of the kind of feel of We Can Be Horses, the first record.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had this pile of songs and nothing really to do with it. And I sat on that for about a year until I met Josh Tovar, who was our first guitar player. And he was a Oklahoma guy, super country.
Mm-hmm.
Started picking up some of my demos and was really encouraging about it. He's like, we should do something with this. We should record this and get some guys together, and it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the beginning of the band, and I just started sort of hand-picking the guys that I had met while I was in the jam band that I knew, okay, if I ever do the band that I want to do,
Yeah.
like these are the guys that I want to bring along. So,
Sure. What year was that?
it was probably like 05, 06.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. So
I
you
graduated in 05.
Okay.
So yeah, right around then.
Right on. So you've had some lineup changes on and off. Has anything changed since the last album, since We Can Be Horses?
Yeah. Our original bass player is back.
Okay.
His name's Kevin Rao. He's actually, I've been playing with him. I played with him in other bands. I've been playing with him for over 15 years now.
Oh, wow.
And he's kind of the musical, he's like the guy that I don't want to play music without,
Sure.
He's the sort of the band leader, whether he likes it or not. And the guy's just a kind of a phenom, can play everything. He's a great piano player. He's a jazz guy. He's literally, there's not a lot you can give him that he can't do.
Yeah.
So he's a great guy. Me not being totally music theory minded. He's a great guy to have. We kind of complement each other,
balance that out. Yeah.
And then we have Nick Lang on the drums, and he's a Milwaukee guy. He wasn't on the record. The guy that was on the record is actually out. His name's Kyle Keegan, and he's out touring and doing huge things that we could not hold him back from.
Gotcha.
Obviously, a great guy, great talent, but he's moved on to much bigger and better things.
I see.
But yeah, Nick is fantastic and has great feel, and same kind of guy, can play the phone book, rock and country, and he just happened to really dig what we were doing.
Sure.
And then a couple new guitar players, Andrew Koenig, who's a younger guy from Milwaukee, got great country chops, super funny guy. He's actually the newest member of the band, and he'll be playing with us everything we're doing for the foreseeable future. He's our guy. And then Michael Rosetto is playing with us for a bunch of dates this summer too, and he's a big Minneapolis guy. Played with a whole bunch of bands up there.
Okay.
Frankie Lee, Trampled by Turtles. He's connected with all those cats. So
sure.
And another great country player. So we've got a lot of guys with the same mentality now.
Yeah.
And it feels really good. It's a very very good hang when we're in practice and in the van, and that's an important part.
Yeah, well, it definitely came through on the recordings, certainly.
Oh, right on.
So
that was actually some different guys too. If you want me to, want me to get deeper into it,
sure. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we had I was just talking about the band that we're going to be taking out as we're kind of supporting this record. But in the studio, it was Nick and Kevin still. And then we had Ryan Ogburn, he's been on everything prior, as our mandolin player, and he played a lot of guitar as well.
Sure.
Just a wonderful musician and person. And then we had Chris Porterfield, played a lot of guitar and synthesizers on the record, and he's got a band called Field Report.
Okay.
And they just actually put out a new record, which is just unbelievable, called Summertime Songs, like a couple weeks ago. So if anyone's listening and you want some good music, that's another one.
Right on. Awesome. Well, let's talk about the new album. It's called On the First Bell. And to back up just a hair to your first album, that was 2013. It was called We Can Be Horses. And so that album was sort of therapeutic for you, correct? You'd been through a lot personally during that part of your life. And although the subject matter of both albums is very similar, I really felt like there was more light in the new album. And I think it's there, and I think you couldn't hide it if you tried. no matter how melancholy some of the subject matter is, the album has more light. So I was going to ask, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy into that theory. I think the first one was very much was me going through a failed marriage and kind of navigating my way through that.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty low time to be writing music, but I've always, you mentioned therapeutic. That's always been like a great side effect of writing for me. I'm not really great at sharing my feelings with people, but when it comes to songwriting, it's a good way for me to get that stuff out, and
Sure.
And I think there's a lot of value to letting other people hear those things and knowing that you're not alone, letting them know that they're not alone. That's always been something that has really kind of drawn me to specific artists. Is there's this like communal feeling that, oh man, I'm not the only one going through that, and I'm not the only one that causes anxiety to, that sort of thing.
Right.
So, but this new one kind of came along as I was sort of coming out of that And, but we also, I mean, there were some dark spots. Definitely. We lost, I mentioned Josh Tovar earlier, our original guitar player and the guy that helped me start the band. He passed away a few years ago. He had brain cancer. And so a lot of this record is me finding my way through that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is also me trying to get a grip on what he might have been going through, although, you know, that's impossible, but it's me trying to deal with that situation.
Sure.
And it was really good for me, to go through this process.
Yeah.
But definitely kind of a cathartic, painful at times, writing session to put this one together.
Yeah. Well, it certainly comes through. I mean, it's very ironic. There's isolation, you know, depression, whiskey, there's lots of death. But the album is still brighter, and you couldn't hide it. So I guess my question is, are you happier now? Do you mind answering that?
Absolutely, man. When you're going through dark stuff and you think, you know, why me, which I've done a lot of over the last decade or so, there's always a point where you're like, hopefully you realize that you're taking something positive away from that situation. Otherwise it's just all crappy, and that's kind of a waste, I guess. That's the way I look at it. I mean, long story short, I'm happier than I've ever been right now, which makes me a little nervous about writing the next batch of songs, but we'll cross that bridge when I get to it, you know.
Not to worry. That'll sort itself out.
Yeah, I'll write some miserable death songs and we'll be fine, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's always our political climate. You could just latch onto that, right?
Oh, man. No, that'll change. That pendulum will swing. And
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about Homeless. It's my favorite track from the album, and you know it's tough to pick a favorite, but that's my favorite. And I wanted to ask you if you would mind discussing what that's about.
Yeah, absolutely. That one is about. I'm not going to specifically talk about who it's about, I guess, but it's basically a story of somebody who grew up in a small town that sort of collapsed on itself. Maybe like an industry moved out, and it had been propping up this town, and it moved out, and the town couldn't sustain itself, so everything kind of shuttered up and died.
Sure.
And basically it's kind of a tale of the person revisiting memories of the town when it was prominent, and then actually literally going to the town when it no longer exists, and realizing that he doesn't have a hometown anymore, which it was just kind of a big, profound, sad thought that I was kind of wrapping my brain around and thought was an interesting concept. And
perfect for a song.
Yeah. It worked out pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, very good. Do you have a favorite track or tracks on the album that you could give us some insight about?
I really like Best Get Fitted. I like musically how that turned out, and I think all the guys contributed in a huge way, taking it from just an acoustic singer-songwriter thing to, you know, it becomes this kind of epic journey. And the same with the title track on the first bell. It kind of feels that way. They kind of feel like bookends to me a little bit, where they're like these sort of big, epic tunes that have different parts to them, whereas I'd never really explored that sort of thing before on previous EPs and albums and stuff. So, I was really proud of those two songs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think those two are enormous standouts. And speaking of the title track, On the First Bell, can you just talk about that a little bit? What inspired it? it's a standout track, and it's the first track, and it leaves a mark, and it kind of leaves a feeling, in your mind. And
Yeah.
so where'd that come from?
That's a story that it's about people that were going through some incredible hardships at the hands of somebody they cared a lot about, and they decided one day that they weren't going to put up with that anymore, and they were going to go find a better place. And that's kind of the simple concept of it. All these have like a very obviously like a specific story in my head, but I kind of like to keep that close to the vest and let people sort of live inside these songs themselves,
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about touring and album support. You've got a busy show schedule coming up, and was curious if there were any venues in particular you were looking forward to.
Yeah, we're definitely excited for Blue Ox, the Blue Ox Festival up in Eau Claire. It's a lot of bluegrass and country bands, and it's always a really, really great lineup. And there's so much talent in this region that it's difficult to get into some of these things. And so the fact that they invited us is that was a huge honor, and we're very excited about that one. Really, everything.
I know you're at Midwest Music Fest. Sorry to interrupt, but I know you're coming to Midwest Music Fest in La Crosse, correct?
Yeah. And that's always a good time. We always see so many bands there's so many bands in this region that you're always seeing new ones that you're like, oh, where have you guys been? There's this band from Appleton called Dusk that I saw last time I was there that just completely blew my mind. And I'd never heard of them before. And so I'm excited to, those kind of things where there's so many bands, and I know I'm just going to fall into a few that I've never heard of that are awesome. So those are always fun situations. But yeah, we're going to be out in, the western side of the state in La Crosse and Winona, and we love it out there in the Driftless region. We're going to be in Iowa and Davenport. We always have a ton of fun there. Madison and Eau Claire and Minneapolis, and so a lot of parts of the Midwest that we haven't been to a lot. And we did a little house show tour a couple of years ago that went really well, and we got to some of these areas, and people were like, "When are you coming back? Bring the whole band. Let's do it right this time." So we're going to try and hit some of those spots too, and hopefully see some of our friends again. And
right on.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy summer. Looking forward to it.
That house concert culture is really coming alive. I think it's so cool. What a great idea.
Man, we love it. We love doing it. It's like I'd much rather play for 40, 50 people that want to sit down and listen to what you have to say than like a bar full of 200 people that aren't paying attention,
Absolutely. It's not even close. Yeah.
So we're actually talking about maybe in the fall, doing another one of those, and trying to pick a little more non-traditional venues, barns and that kind of thing, because those can be really fun. Yeah. So we'll see if that comes together. But.
Sure. Big picture question. So let's say your musical endeavor with Buffalo Gospel or yourself, whatever, explodes in the future in the best of ways. What does that look like to you? What does that mean?
Oh, man. I think, honestly, just sort of maintaining the life that I've built, my wife and I have built, which is not very extravagant. We have a house and dogs and hobbies that we like. And I think just maintaining that with music, right now I have a day job that I need to sustain all this stuff. But if I could do that just off music, whether it's songwriting or playing in this band or, supplementing it with other things, that would be success to me at this point.
Sure. Do you mind telling us what your day job is?
I work at a graphic design firm.
Oh, right on.
Like production management. Yeah.
Okay. Of course you're in something artistic. Of course.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm surrounded by some super talented people, and
Yeah.
like it's inspiring. And I do all the band's design, all the posters, and actually I didn't do the artwork for the album, but most of our marketing stuff. It's how I kind of scratch that itch, a creative itch.
Honestly, it's funny you say that because I was wondering who did you guys' work. I really think it's cool stuff. And again,
thanks.
not just blowing sunshine your way, but
Cool.
now I know. And I'm not surprised, man, because it looked like somebody who was really invested in the music who was making the artwork. So it totally makes sense.
We like to make sure that we're presenting things as well as we can.
Yeah,
I will say that the guy that did the album art, which I'm in love with, his name's Brett Stenson. He's out in the Pacific Northwest now as an art director, but he's a former Milwaukee guy, super nice, came into town. We had a meeting, talked about, what the album was about and what it meant to me. And he came back with that, and he hit it out of the park, in my opinion. So
yeah, it's real nice.
Just his work is fantastic.
Yeah. We're going to do a few desert island questions here to end the interview.
Okay.
Some of these get kind of tricky, so just bear with me.
Sure.
So you're on a desert island, or you're headed to a deserted island, I should say, and you get to take one album to listen to for the rest of your life on this island. So basically, it's your favorite album of all time. And what would it be?
Oh, that's really hard. I am going to go, I don't think it can be something with lyrics. I think that would be like too much. Like you'd get sick of it too quick.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you're on this island, so the music almost has to be like utilitarian,
Yeah. I think I would do, how about, I would do Kind of Blue, Miles Davis. Because that, you could make that like your, you could make it front and center, or you could put it on as kind of background music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the first person who's ever picked a strictly instrumental album. That's awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I think like a singer-songwriter thing, you get sick of that after a while.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. Yeah.
That's a really, really tough question.
It is. It's impossible. I've set you up for failure.
Yeah. Well, story of my life.
Right. Well, the next one's harder. So you're a castaway on this island, and you only get to take one song with you. One song for the rest of your life. You can't think hard. You just got to spit something out.
That's impossible.
It is impossible, but it only has to be accurate for this moment. It doesn't have to be accurate 30 seconds from now.
All right. We're going to go with, how about George Jones? He Stopped Loving Her Today.
Nice. See, this always holds true. Nobody ever chooses their favorite song from their favorite album. It never happens.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that awesome. One, that's one of my dad's favorites, too. He sends that to me on a pretty regular basis.
Right
just to remind me that it exists in the world, and it's like the North Star of sad country songs that I can aim my writing at, that sort of thing.
That's awesome. You got to have one.
Yep.
So, last question: you get to collaborate with anyone, dead or alive. Who would it be?
I think Bonnie Raitt. I've been pretty in love with Bonnie Raitt for a long, long time. And I don't think there's anybody doing it better.
So what would you want to do with her? Would you want to sing with her, write for her, have her write for you? What do you think?
Man, all of that. I'd play her guitar, just sit in the room while she was writing music. I like anything. I just be near her and soak up some of that amazing ability. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But, I would love to sing with her. I think that would be kind of a highlight. And I think Emmylou Harris is probably my close second.
Sure.
It's mostly women that I want to work with. just there's some fantastic female performers out there.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's awesome, man. Hey, that's going to about do it, and I really, really appreciate your time.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it, too.
Yeah, I wish you guys the best of luck with the album. I can't wait to see you guys play on the 25th at the High Noon Saloon in in Madison.
Awesome.
Super stoked for that. And I'm going to come bump you on the shoulder after the show. So
Cool, man. Do that for sure.
Absolutely. And that'll do it for us today. Thank you again so much to Ryan of Buffalo Gospel for joining us. The name of their new album is On the First Bell. Please go to thearcofmusic.com and check out the album. There you'll find all the links you need to listen, watch, stream, and download On the First Bell. It's an amazing album. It's what music is supposed to be, and I guarantee you it will sonically inspire your life. Thanks also to all of you out there for listening. And please don't forget to sign up for our free Music Discovery e-newsletter. And just a quick reminder to all of you hardworking musicians out there, if you're looking to have your album or single reviewed on the Arc of Music, simply visit us at guaranteedmusicreview.com, where you can order a professional, timely review and interview. We're going to say goodbye today to the song High Time to Hang Fire off of Buffalo Gospel's latest album, On the First Bell. Take care.
Well, I'm fairly certain the red dirt on my window pane was left there so I could remember the last time it rained. Placed in loving and light through long, lonely trails of the tears that I cried on the day you never came back. Really time to hang fire. Lord, it's time to hang fire. Drink on the light on the day you were gone. Oh, it's high time to hang fire. I'll chase this guilt with regret, hellos with goodbyes. And let them slip over this heart. Oh, and when they run dry, I curse what I never said, knowing I had the chance. Now that all of the time that we had has slipped through my hands. Oh, no, no. It's a high time to hang fire. It's a high time to hang fire. I'll drink all the light on the day we were gone. Oh, it's high time to hang fire. I've lost my faith in the things I was sure of, and forgot more than I'll ever let on. Red bearing grace on and welded up a true love. Drink all the light on the day we're gone. It's a high time to hang fire. It's a high time to hang fire. A trick off the light on the day you were gone. It's a high time to hang fire.